welcome to No Broken Legs. It is week 11 in the NFL. The Cleveland Browns will be playing Buffalo and Detroit now, and joining me to break all this down is Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, how are you this evening? It is cold, but not nearly as snowy as it is in Buffalo.
Yeah, I'd rather have the snow than this cold, man. It just kind of snuck up on us here. I mean, I know it was going to get cold, but it got cold real quick. And I can't be the only person disappointed they're not going to play in all that snow. That shit would have been ridiculous to watch.
Well, they have Orchard Park area has 4.5 feet of snow. I checked their local TV stations before we started recording. So as of 8 o'clock Saturday night, and it's still snowing. It's too dangerous for them to have 80,000 people descend upon one area, man.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I
So
completely agree.
I guess what I'm trying to say there is just save the conspiracy theories, Browns fans. Just fucking relax. Get over yourselves. You're not that important.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Not everything that happens that's bad is because the league has it out for the Browns.
Oh yes, it is.
As I mentioned, this game is being played in Detroit. The Buffalo Bills are 7.5 point favorites. 49.5 is the over-under, plus 285 for the Browns, minus 360 for the Bills on the money line. Jimmy, I was all over Cleveland if this was going to be played in the snow. I have flip-flopped on this to Buffalo. I think Buffalo basically does what Miami did last week. What do you think the Browns have for Buffalo?
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, Josh Allen has made some really bad passes and decisions as of late, but like it has for most of the league, I imagine Joe Woods and this defense will be able to fix what ails them. You know, the Bills have faced four spreads more than 7 points this year, going 2-2 in those games against the spread. I think they cover this easily. There wasn't much during or after that game to make any Browns fan believe on an even field they can compete with Buffalo, in my opinion. Maybe some of the talking stuff from last week, maybe that will fire up the team a little bit. I doubt it, but maybe it will. But I think the Bills will win this game by an easy touchdown and field goal.
The Browns do get JOK and Njoku back. The defense just looks like a mess. Myles Garrett is like defending innocuous comments that he made, and I don't know. We've reached that point of the season where it's like, oh yeah, that's this part of the season where people are trying to talk themselves into this team all of a sudden winning, 5 of 6 or something like that. I think the move helps the Bills. They lose a home game, which sucks for them, but the Bills' defense is going to be a real test for the Browns. The Bills are a top 5 rush defense, and I have real questions as to what Kevin Stefanski is going to do when Buffalo shuts down the first 3 to 4 running plays. Like they just sell out to shut down those run plays, and he's just going to completely get away from it and be one-dimensional. That's not going to work against this Buffalo defense.
No, I mean, Brissett looks good. Brissett looks good early when there's a little bit of balance in the offense. And whenever it appears they're going to go pass heavy, that's where the underthrows start, the mistakes start. Throws that only get first downs that could have been touchdowns or 40-yard gains start. The thought of Jacoby Brissett being able to keep the Browns within a touchdown and a half of even an injured Josh Allen, to me, is just, it's not believable. I just don't believe it. I don't know if,
well, we both thought that he would be down last week, but I mean, the mistakes he made weren't because he was injured.
No,
he was throwing the ball just fine.
Yeah, to anybody that would catch it.
If that's him injured and he's going to add another 5 to 10% on top of that, like that's, I don't know, man. This Browns defense hasn't really been tested like this. And I think what Josh Allen can bring with his legs really just attacks what Cleveland wants to do. Because unlike Joe Burrow, Josh Allen's not going to be afraid to step up in the pocket. He's not going to be afraid to just take off and run. And I don't know how the Browns stop that with how weak the middle of that defense is.
No, and then Greg Newsome put himself in, well, not put himself, but Greg Newsome is now in concussion protocol from an injury that happened in practice today.
Oh,
So,
man.
so Newsome will be out for this game, and I have no reason to believe that secondary can cover Diggs and Davis all day. I have taken some shots at Buffalo with the aspirations and everything that's been thrown on them, and I don't think it's just the media throwing the hype on them. They believe the hype as well. I've criticized them for being too emotional and having too much energy at times, but I think their level of intensity, I have no reason to believe the Browns can match that, and I think that'll really be a difference in this game. I think if you do happen to stop Buffalo, I mean, you couldn't make Miami punt. I don't know why I think you can make Buffalo punt, but if you did, the next time Josh Allen's on the field, he'll expect to score a touchdown. And we have seen Jacoby Brissett look good for, a quarter and a half to start a game, and then it goes downhill. And you're not going to probably be able to run to stay in this game, even if Buffalo's not just selling out to stop the run, because Buffalo tends to score so quickly. So you're going to have to score points, which means you're going to have to force Jacoby into that situation again that he's not comfortable with. And I don't think it's going to go well. I love the over here. I think there will be points scored.
Agreed.
Both of these offenses score points, but I just don't think the Browns can cover the 7.5.
The only thing that worries me is that Buffalo is very up and down. If they come into this game and they're maybe a little light and the Browns are, actually coming out to play and putting in effort and all on the same page, there's no reason talent-wise the Browns can't hang in this game, except for the quarterback. But I just feel like this is going to be another one of those games where, as we're watching it, we're just going to go, oh, yeah, their coach is just seems to make better decisions every time than our coach.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have one game in the books. The Tennessee Titans beat the Green Bay Packers 27-17. I was all over Tennessee last night. That was one of the few games this week I really liked. I feel like there's a lot of stayaways this week.
Yeah.
Vrabel's just got those guys ready to go. Well, I was at the gym this morning and I saw the lower third that said, are the Tennessee Titans Super Bowl contenders? So I'm just we're here to tell you, everybody, get ready to bet against Ryan Tannehill in the playoffs. Just get your money ready. Make sure you're putting a sizable bet on Ryan Tannehill, probably in round 2, because they'll probably wind up with. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but I'm trying to think who I would be comfortable as Tennessee being a favorite of in the wild card.
I don't know if we'll be taking Tennessee even in the wild card round this year.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the Titans right now, I do think they're a little bit undervalued in the regular season, which tends to then lead them to being overvalued in the postseason, which we like to hammer, but
I couldn't believe they were 3-point underdogs.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I was like, what?
Yeah. Well, they had a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball that should have mattered, but Green Bay's defense, once again, I thought was going to be really good coming into the season, has really been poor, but it does look like, I don't know what the future will hold for this Packers offense, but it looks like Christian Watson might be ready to step up as a next really good wide receiver in the league. Like, he's getting separation and catching footballs now. The catch he made for one of the touchdowns was an excellent catch. So,
but even with those plays, this offense really struggles. Aaron Rodgers is missing throws. He looks like he's getting old, man. He looks like it happened quick to Peyton Manning. Yep. He went from one of the best quarterbacks in the league to, wow, that guy's only got like 3 25-yard passes in him in a game.
Yeah.
Our next matchup is probably going to be a pretty entertaining one. The Atlanta Falcons are home. They are facing the Chicago Bears. The spread on this is 3. The over-under is 49. Jimmy, I expect there to be a lot of points. And Justin Fields, man, 3.5-point underdog. I get to bet on Justin Fields. I like it. What say you?
Yeah. I love the Bears at +3, and I love the money line at +135 for the Bears. I think I'm actually leaning the under. I think there's going to be a lot of offense, but I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of points scored in this one. The Falcons are now 0-4 in their last 4 against the spread. and 2 of those 4 they were the favorites. I just think Justin Fields is the best player on the field in this game, and I think it'll be enough. Like this almost feels like a lock if you're looking for any money line parlays. I love that there. I was shocked that these are actually right now the number 1 and number 2 rushing offenses in the league. But the Falcons also happen to be the 32nd ranked defense.
That's a problem.
So I think that'll be the problem. I think Justin Fields will have a chance to shine here. I think the Bears are going to win.
Yeah, I'm with you. Chicago should have won last week.
Yeah.
Just a few kind of bonkers plays went against them. Our next matchup features the return of Baker Mayfield, Jimmy. The Baltimore Ravens are hosting the Carolina Panthers. Baker's a 13-point underdog in his comeback game. The over-under on this one is 41.5, minus 720 on the money line for Baltimore, plus 520. Jimmy, for a team that has blown a lot of leads late this season, that's a hefty spread.
Yeah, that's why 13 is a ton of points for a team that hasn't hit all cylinders and has struggled holding on to second half leads. The Ravens have only had 2 wins all year by more than 13 points. So I'm going to take Carolina at plus 13. The Panthers defense, guys like Brian Burns will have to play really well. But Baker has had some of his best games in that stadium. So I don't think he'll feel overwhelmed. Obviously, the offense he's got now isn't quite as good as the one he's played with before in that stadium. But I think he'll feel okay in that environment if he's healthy. Maybe the offensive line for him will keep guys engaged so they can't block down every pass. But I just think it's too many points for a team that isn't winning games by 13 points.
I'm really interested to see how Baker plays because they're definitely leaning on the run more. Foreman's just a really good running back. He was
100%.
He had that, I don't know, like a 45-yard run in the playoffs last year for Tennessee, and then, he didn't touch the ball for 2.5 quarters because why would you? He only,
they were trying to establish Ryan Tannehill, bud.
Jesus. Yeah, and that's why they got knocked out of the playoffs with his 3 fucking interceptions, and that ties into what we said earlier about betting against Ryan Tannehill in the playoffs. It's just something you do. You bet. You know what? No, we're going to bet against him because we bet against him in round 1. And then if he manages to win, then you just bet enough to cover whatever you lost in round 1 and round 2 because they have a ceiling, and that ceiling is they're not winning the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Back to this game, I think because they're going to run the ball more, they're going to do more play action. That plays more into what Baker Mayfield is good at. And I think Baltimore probably is comfortably ahead in this game, and Carolina gets a backdoor cover to knock it to within single digits. This feels like maybe a 10-point game. 13 seems like too much. That Carolina defense, not terrible. They're pretty good. So I think they can keep this game in check. I'm not betting this game, and I'd be real careful about really going big on Baltimore because we've seen several times this year that the really obvious bets like this seem to just crush gamblers.
Yep.
So be careful with this one, folks. Just be careful. I think the Carolina with 13 points is a nice, safe bet. Next up, we have the Washington Armada. They are traveling to Houston to take on the just woeful Texans, Jimmy. Just once again, they're not good. The Commanders are 3-point favorites. The over-under sits at 40.5, minus 160 for the Commanders, plus 140 for Houston. First off, Jimmy, we should just give an attaboy to the Washington Armada. They came through for us on Monday night. I ended up making more on the hedge bet I made on them because it was plus 400. So really, you helped me talk myself into that one. That was a really nice bet.
Yeah, guys, everybody out there listening, man, the emotional roller coaster I went on in that Vikings-Bills game that led me to then the Armada game. Oh man, it was stressful and incredible, both of those things. So, Ev, the Houston Texans are woeful.
Yeah, they're bad.
The Houston Texans are also 7-4-1 against the spread this year. I think this will be a very competitive game. I think the Armada is going to have a letdown after the partying they had to do, beating the Eagles on a short week. So give me the Texans at +3 and the money line at plus 140, bud.
Oh, you like the Texans to get their second win.
I do.
All right, you've been hot with these lately. You were all over the Jets and the Bills, man. That was an impressive piece of work.
Yes, sir.
And as soon as I just mentioned the Washington money line, you were like, "Oh yeah." One thing we did get wrong, or at least in the short term we did, was Jeff Saturday as the Indianapolis's new coach. They get a win against the really bad Las Vegas Raiders. More on them in a little while. The Colts are hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are 7-point favorites. Over under sits at 45.5, minus 300 for the Eagles, plus 250 for the Colts. The first thing I wanted to talk about with this game, Jimmy, was Jordan Davis being out, and then the Eagles go and sign Ndamukong Suh, and all I can think of is if Sue can bring it, he really fills that gap left by Davis. And when Davis comes back, and those two get to play together, that just sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, I don't feel like I need numbers and stats for this one. The whole Jeff Saturday taking victory laps and telling everybody to shut up and quit criticizing him and his ability and his hiring, all that shit's going to change come Sunday night, Monday morning. Because a pissed off Eagles team is going to stomp the shit out of this Colts team. And you're going to see the difference between a guy who's doing a very good job as a head coach, who deserved an opportunity, and a guy that got hired because he drinks with a billionaire. Like, plain and simple. Dude, the Colts are going to get whopped in this game, bro.
I'm with you. I'm taking the Eagles. I'm not scared of Matt Ryan because that Eagles defense can get after it, and when you can put pressure on Matt Ryan, he becomes very average very quickly. And Philadelphia cannot have a letdown game here because Minnesota keeps winning, and the number one seed is up for grabs. And with only one bye, you have to be there because Minnesota's probably not going to lose many games.
No, it doesn't seem like it. Right now, they've got that positive regression going on close games, and they're getting it done. No, I think the Eagles realize they let one slip away with the Armada. I think they'll get focused right back on track. I have no reason to believe otherwise. I still think the Colts stink. I believe the Jeff Saturday experience will take a big turn downwards this week. I think the Eagles are just going to demolish the Colts. I love the Eagles as my second team in my money line parlay, along with the Bears. I think the Eagles know they let one slip away last week. I believe they'll get refocused. They'll get right back to work. They need to keep winning. And I think they'll get right back on it. I don't think Matt Ryan can handle the pass rush in this defense of the Eagles.
I hope you're right. I want the Jeff Saturday experience to be a disaster.
Yeah, 100%.
Next up, we have the New England Patriots hosting the New York Jets. The Patriots are 3.5-point favorites. Over under sits at 38, minus 170 Pats, plus 145 Jets. For me, Jimmy, this is a pretty simple game. It's Bill Belichick against Zach Wilson. I'm going to take New England. New England always beats the Jets. You just always bet this. Even I don't think New England's great, but they just have the Jets number.
They have had the Jets number. They really have. Dude, this is such a huge game for Zach Wilson and Robert Saleh, as well as Bill Belichick. Like, this is a big time game. Lots of playoff implications, a lot of division implications. Give me the Jets at plus 3.5 and the Jets money line at plus 145. I don't know what's going to happen in this game, but I think the Jets have beaten better teams than the Patriots this year. And this is a chance for Robert Saleh to really show what he can do, a chance for Zach Wilson to show what he can do. Man, I love Garrett Wilson out there. I'm just really intrigued by this game. I agree with you. Normally, this is where Belichick really goes to work, and he might make me eat my words, man, but I'm going to take the Jets in this one.
Well, Robert Saleh better hope he can coach his way out of this because Judon's having a great season. He's just a really good player. He always has been. Yep. And Zach Wilson just doesn't do well against Bill Belichick, and this just seems like one of those times where he's just going to throw too much for Wilson to handle. Our next matchup is this. You want to talk about a game I don't want anything to do with. The New Orleans Saints are hosting the LA Rams. This is a 2.5-point spread. 39 is the over-under, plus 130 for the Rams, minus 150 for the Saints. No Cooper Kupp, Jimmy. Stafford's still in concussion protocol. The Rams season looks like it's over. The Saints just look bad. I mean, whenever Andy Dalton's involved in your late season, mid to late season, you know things aren't going well. This is a stay away. This is a stay away. You don't want any part of this game.
Yep, 100%.
I don't think the Rams can win it because I don't know how the Rams are going to move the football.
No, but if they did win, I wouldn't be surprised.
New Orleans is just as capable of fucking this game up as the Rams are.
Yeah, I mean, a field goal feels right, so I guess I'll take the Rams, but I feel the same way you did. This total stay away. I have zero feel for either of these teams when they're healthy, so I don't want to try to pretend to know what they're going to do when they're injured like this.
I'll take the Saints side of it then. We can have something to argue about.
Sounds good. I like it.
Up next, we have the surprising 7-2 New York Giants taking on the Detroit Lions. This is in New York. Well, New Jersey, actually. But the Giants will be 3-point home favorites. Over-under sits at 45. Plus 140 for the Lions, minus 165 for the Giants. Everything in me tells me that I should like the Lions in this situation. And that's why I like the Giants.
Yeah, I'm with you.
This Detroit team's just not good.
No. I still think this Giants team is going to crumble somewhere, but I don't think it'll be here.
Yeah, it's not against the Lions.
Yeah, I think they'll win this game by a touchdown. But, for Dable and for the Giants, if they want to stay a leader in the NFC, where, the top couple seeds are really kind of available for somebody to take, they can't slip up in a game like this. Like, you can't lose this game. I don't think they will, but this will be either a notch in the belt or a knock on the resume of Dable and his Giants. So we'll see what happens.
It's always interesting when an undefeated team loses to see what the ripple effects of that are. Like, can the other teams take advantage? Do they get maybe a little lax and somebody beats them? And that's a good way to find out who's good and who isn't. So this is a good test of what the Giants really are. I still don't think they're very good. We're both going to probably bet heavily against them in the first round of the playoffs, just like we are Ryan Tannehill. So whatever the Giants get in the regular season, though, is a big plus for them because I didn't think they'd be very good this year.
No, me neither.
If we were doing a medal stand of stay-away games, the Saints-Rams would probably be the silver, but Denver hosting Vegas would be the gold. The Broncos are 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is 41.5, plus 124 for the Raiders, minus 145 for Denver. And I saw this line, Jimmy, and my first thought was, well, come on, Denver shouldn't be 2.5-point favorites over anybody. The Raiders shouldn't really be favorites over anybody either. So Josh McDaniels got the dreaded vote of confidence, Jimmy.
Yeah, but the fact that Russell Wilson doesn't even get the 3-point home number is crazy. We have here on the No Broken Legs, my co-host here, Evan, correctly said Matt Rule will be the first coach gone. I then nailed the second coach gone with Frank Reich. Last week, I very much meant what I said, but if the Raiders lose to the Colts, Josh McDaniels should be fired right then and there.
They can't afford to, though, Jimmy.
And then the reports come out, we can't afford to pay 2 ex-coaches and hire another one so he gets to keep his job. That is incredible. That's so Raiders. Like, if that's not the Browns, it would have to be the Raiders. The only 2 organizations that can let themselves get in that situation. But you are right about the gold medal stance for a stay away. I guess I'm going to pick the Broncos, but, dude, you got to be a degenerate of degenerates to throw some money on this one.
I love that you take the Broncos because I was taking the Raiders, and this will be another fun one for us to just look at each other and be like, well, wow, that was really fucking interesting. I'm glad I didn't have any money on that game. I mean, it's your money, people. I'm staying away. I don't hate myself enough to go through the roller coaster that this game's going to be. There's better ways to spend a Sunday. So obviously Josh McDaniels is going to keep his job. At what point do things finally come to a head for Nathaniel Hackett?
I don't know. I I still don't care enough to look at their staff to see who can take over for him. Like, I don't.
Well, I don't think
don't
it
know.
matters. I mean, what? You're going to elevate the offensive coordinator of an offense that doesn't do anything?
I mean, you let him stay for 11 weeks. Fuck, let him finish the season and then go get someone.
It's just at
Like,
this
Jesus.
point, fuck it. Let's just give Seattle a top 10 pick.
Like, I just, he's been so bad. This offense has been so bad. And now, like, I mean, you got to wonder, is it Nathaniel Hackett's camp leaking out that Russ is calling audibles from the Seahawks playbook? Like, this
I
is just,
saw that
incredible.
today and just laughed.
It's absolutely incredible, dude. Like, yeah, I mean, I think Hackett will make it through the season, and then I don't know what the hell they do next year.
They're going to be... Wow. Russell Wilson for Aaron Rodgers. Who says no? Who says no?
Neither team. Neither team says no.
Wow. I found it. I found that deal. Russell Wilson goes back to Wisconsin.
Hell, the money's pretty similar too. So.
That would be if a trade was going to happen for either of those two guys. That's like the only trade that's really possible. Yeah. Nobody else can afford to trade for either of those guys because they wouldn't be able to get rid of the salary. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen, but just wow, that would be fun.
I don't know. Both those organizations might be so pissed at the way these seasons have gone that they might both be in on that one.
What's his face, that the kid in Green Bay, should he get some starts?
Sure.
Like, fuck it, why not?
Sure. No, I don't think. Not that Brett Favre took it well. I think you would have to make Aaron Rodgers inactive to sit him. Like, I don't think you can leave him active on the roster and play Jordan.
Well, they're going to be mathematically eliminated here in the next 2-3 weeks, and then they have their bye coming up. So when they are mathematically eliminated, that seems like a good time for him to get surgery on whatever nagging ailments he has.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
that would be my decision, and that would be what I'm talking to Aaron Rodgers about. What can we do? And like I said, have that conversation after you're mathematically eliminated. But just say, look, we're not making the playoffs this year. You're part of our long-term future. Whether you mean that or not, that's what you have to say because he's part of your long-term future because of the contract.
Yeah.
And look, let us see what we have for the kid, and we can trade him and get some help. Get you another receiver, maybe bring in some offensive line help, shore up the defense that we thought was going to be better, and make another run next year because the NFC's wide open. If Aaron Rodgers can come back to form next year, they'll be the team that we thought they were going to be this year.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we got a little off track there. I mean, it's just how difficult it is to stay on the Broncos-Raiders conversation. Yeah. Our next matchup is the Dallas Cowboys against the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. The Cowboys, 1.5-point favorites, Jimmy. 47.5 is the over-under, -125 on Dallas, +108 for Minnesota. This line is disrespectful to the Minnesota Vikings, Jimmy. So I guess they're thinking letdown game.
Well, they're thinking this is pretty damn close to being a primetime game, so we can't give Minnesota 3 because we know what Kirk Cousins is going to look like.
That's true, because it'll be night, because the sun goes down so early now that it'll be dark for most of this game. That's a really good point. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, but with that being said, I know it's scary to say, give me Kirk Cousins, the Vikings at +1.5 and the money line at +105. This is a huge marquee matchup for both of these teams. I don't think the Vikings have to blow Dallas out, but for the Vikings to beat Dallas, you have to say this is a top 5 team in the league. Dallas can also put a stamp on the season with a win against Minnesota. He has established himself as at least a top 3 team in the NFC. I do think this game is going to start off pretty slow because both of these teams played overtime last week in grueling games. So I really love the under. That's my favorite bet on this game.
I too like the under. I like Minnesota. Normally, this is a game that I would be really excited to bet on, but this was really the game that made me take a step back this week and go, maybe we should sit most of these games out. This is a really strange line.
Yeah.
It's just a really strange line. I don't understand what we've seen this season that makes Dallas favorites over Minnesota. I know there's a lot of public money on the Cowboys, but it's just they just shat the bed against Green Bay, and we just saw Green Bay's not good.
Yep. I agree. Like I said, I think this line falls squarely on the shoulders of Kirk Cousins. I truly believe that.
Our next matchup is the Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. The Bengals are 4-point favorites. Over-under is 40.5. Minus 195 for the Bengals, plus 168 for Pittsburgh. We were the ones last week that relayed the information that Pittsburgh does really well as home dogs. They're even better in division, Jimmy. 5-0-2 against the spread. How do you not bet on Tomlin? TJ Watt's back. That Pittsburgh defense looks like an elite defense.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, this feels like a field goal game either way, so I'll take the Steelers getting 4.5. This is a sneaky good game in the AFC North. Like, if Cincinnati really believes last year wasn't an outlier, and they have this team that has a chance to compete in the AFC, they got to win this game, and I'm not sure that they will win this game. I'm not going to bet the Steelers money line because I'm not that confident of it, but the Bengals need this game, and Mike Tomlin might just have other ideas, you know. The Steelers can definitely defensively do to Cincinnati exactly what Cleveland did. I imagine that'll be the game plan. I imagine they'll do it. So, but this is a big game in the AFC North. So, but I'm definitely with you on the Steelers on this one.
Up next, we have the game that I'm really excited to see. We have the Kansas City Chiefs against the Los Angeles Chargers in L.A. This was a 6.5-point spread a couple days ago. It is now a 5-point spread. The Chiefs are favored. Over-under sits at 52. Minus 240 for the Chiefs. Plus 205 for the Chargers. I have a question before we get into this game, Jimmy. Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Really talented. Great thrower of the football. And we normally expect that to lead to wins, but it doesn't always. What if he's Jay Cutler minus the asshole?
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty fair. Now I will say some of the games that Justin Herbert has looked great in that the team has lost has been on the coaching staff.
Oh, I totally agree with that. I mean, he has not gotten a lot of help from the guys on the sideline. And there's just, as Browns fans, we've seen over the last 2 decades some of the damnedest things go against our team and happen to our team. And the only team that's really anywhere in the same vicinity of that is the Chargers. The strangest shit just seems to happen with that team. Missed extra points, some weird bounce of the football, just whatever. Like a coach inexplicably doing something silly, like going for it on 4th and 2 instead of punting, like in your own territory in a field goal game. They seem to find ways to fuck up.
Yeah, and I think with Herbert, I think what it was, you know, we've had such an influx in the league of really good quarterbacks. Everybody wants to believe that all these other quarterbacks are as talented and as good and as much of a winner and a leader as Patrick Mahomes, and that just ain't the case.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good ones, a lot of really good ones, and then there's Patrick Mahomes. And everybody wanted to put Herbert and Burrow and Josh Allen and Lamar right there with Patrick Mahomes when they didn't deserve it. Not that they can't get there, but they haven't deserved it yet. And they're trying to do it because there were times you see Justin Herbert make such incredible throws, and then he'll miss an easy one, and he'll miss a read, and he'll force a ball he didn't need to force. Like, dude, how can you throw that pass when I saw you throw this pass? Yeah. And that's something a lot of times we don't give with Mahomes. Like, he tends to take the right decision normally, but yeah, I think he might have kind of gave a really good comp for Justin Herbert. You know, I think the Chargers are good, but they're not going to be good enough. Give me the Chiefs. Give me the over. This is a big AFC and AFC West game. The Chiefs can really take a stranglehold in the AFC West and overall in the AFC when they get this win.
I liked the Chargers at 6.5. I do think this will be a pretty close game. But the more I talk myself into that, the more I just keep saying it looks like Kansas City's playing right now. They look like they're coming together as a team. They're starting to play some of their best football. Yeah. And definitely, I'm talking myself out of that, and I like the Chiefs too. I think we're getting to the point of the season where everybody's going to be right back to where you and I were before the season with all the Buffalo hype. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's right. Kansas City's probably the best team.
Dude, I mean, it wasn't just the Buffalo hype. There were people like, oh, Kansas City could finish second or third in the division.
There were some people that said they would finish fourth. Like,
dude, like
looking at the Raiders and the Broncos now, and people said they were going to finish fourth.
The underratedness that people were putting on the Chiefs was disrespectful, and Patrick Mahomes is making a pay for it.
Our final game of the week is the Monday night affair. This is San Francisco. This game's in Mexico City, isn't it?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Arizona's technically the home team. This is an 8-point spread. The 49ers are favored. 43.5 the over-under, minus 350 on the money line for the Niners, plus 290 for the Cardinals. Everything in my bones tells me that San Francisco should win this game by 1,000,000 points, which is why I actually like the Cardinals here.
Yep. No,
I just don't trust. That's too many points.
Too many points. Anything more than 6 is too many with Jimmy G at quarterback.
Well, with all that talent, too.
Yeah.
There's just so much talent on that team. And it was funny. It's just funny how the whole thing with Call of Duty came out. And since the new Call of Duty thing came out, Kyler Murray hasn't played a game.
It's pretty damn hilarious. Like it might not have anything to do with anything, but
no, I'm not saying it does. I don't think it does. It's just a hilarious coincidence.
But maybe it's not a hilarious coincidence. like not Cliff. I'm gonna be over here.
Hey man, they got Colt. They got Colt McCoy manning the station for him. And people are, Colt McCoy came out and looked competent when everybody thought he was going to be shit. Now people have time to prepare for him, so that's probably not going to go very well, and everybody will remember why Colt McCoy is a backup.
So I want to throw a stat at you. I don't know if you saw it or not. And, judging quarterback wins is a really weird thing because the quarterback touches the ball every play. He has a considerable amount to do with wins and losses. But to judge a quarterback's eliteness or how good of a quarterback they are on wins is kind of silly. Jimmy Garoppolo, 10-2 in games he has started at quarterback and not throwing a touchdown.
I know, it's crazy.
That's insane. They're actually better if he doesn't throw the football.
Yeah. That's what we've been saying for 3 years now.
Well, I know, but to actually see it, I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah, but that's part of how he's been as successful as he has been. It's not his arm talent, it's not his decision making, it's not his ability to come through in the clutch. It's his ability to not throw the football when his coaches tell him to run it.
Just throw out of water to run, man.
And be okay with it, because that seems to be what his best trait is, because Mac Jones doesn't seem to be okay with it.
No, he does not. I would agree with that. That's fair.
So that's the Week 11 slate, Jimmy. We're getting to the point now where there's some teams that are giving people a chance to cash in some of their offseason bets. If you took the over on the Giants, the Jets, or Seattle, I think you can already cash those bets. If you took the under on Vegas and Denver, I think that's a loser leaves town match. I think whoever loses that game is they can't hit their over, so the under will hit on that. It's amazing how many teams every year at Week 11 we have that are putting a stamp on their over-unders. Just goes to show how much variation there is, and how early in the season, if you can get hot and find something, you can ride it for a couple of weeks. And Vegas is pretty much guessing at these over-unders too, man.
Yeah, and we did think there were a handful that we were like, man, that number is too low or that number is too high. So definitely, I'll be looking at mine. This week. seeing what I can cash in on and what I need to hope and pray for. So.
Yeah, and then if you can cash that bet in, you can get ready for the playoffs and betting against Ryan Tannehill and Daniel Jones. Jimmy, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for joining me on this very cold Saturday night to talk some NFL football. We'll see what the Browns have for the Bills on Sunday.
No place I'd rather be, brother.
I want to thank you for listening. For Jimmy Champ, I'm Evan Belfiore, and we'll be back next week with no broken legs.